I often get asked by new podcasters, how much time do you actually spend every single week creating your podcast? What if I told you that you could podcast in just 5 hours a week? I'm going to show you exactly how that works. So let's get right to it. Hey everybody, Krystal here, and today I'm going to tell you how you can create your podcast in just 5 hours a week. I know, it sounds crazy, right? Like, how in the world can you create a podcast in just 5 hours a week? I'm going to break down every single hour and how I think you should spend your time. That way you don't waste it on things that aren't important and you don't feel overwhelmed thinking, am I doing this right? Am I spending time on the things that actually matter? So let's dive into every single hour of the 5 hours a week you can spend on your podcast. So hour number one should be spent on content planning. I say this all the time, but the more time you spend on actually planning your content and getting ahead of the game before you ever start recording, the easier every single step of the process is. Whenever you know exactly what you're talking about, who you're speaking to, and what the purpose of your content actually is, everything else seems to fall into place. So if you have an hour to spend on content planning throughout your week, I want you to focus on 3 important things. I want you to do your keyword research. I want you to play around in some Facebook groups and really figure out what it is that your audience wants you talking about. And the third thing is, I actually want you engaging and polling your audience. So if we're working through this hour of content planning, then ask your audience, what do you want to hear from me? Or do you think this idea sounds great? This is what I'm planning to talk about. I would love your feedback because this accomplishes a few different things. It actually helps you plan your content and hopefully make it better for your audience. That way they would actually enjoy it and listen, and downloads, like all the things become easier, right? But it also helps you engage with them, and they're more likely to listen because you've created this piece of content specifically for them. So in your 5 hours of podcasting, I want you to spend at least 1 hour a week on content planning. Now, with all of these hours, you don't have to sit down and that's all you do is keyword research for 1 hour or be in Facebook groups for 1 hour. I want you to look at what your needs are and what you actually need to do. But I think you need to spend at least, at the bare minimum, 1 hour a week on planning your content. The second hour of your 5 hours a week doing your podcast should be spent on content creation. This is actually doing your recording, doing your interviews, or batching your podcast episodes. This is totally separate from editing. Notice I just said recording, and that is what I want you to focus on. One thing at a time. We're not trying to focus on every single aspect of the podcast process. I want you to just focus on one thing at a time. So whenever it comes to recording, like I said, we're working on your solo recordings or any intros or outros that you have to do. We're focusing on those interviews and scheduling and setting those up, or just batching future pieces of content for your podcast. So hour number 2 should be on content creation. I would love for you to comment below and tell me how long your podcast episodes actually are. Whether they're interviews or solo episodes, how long does it actually take for you to create your podcast content? If you're brand new, then tell me this is how long I want my episodes to be whenever they are fully done. But let me know in the comments below how long your podcast episodes actually are whenever you're recording them. Okay, let's get back to the video. And the third hour of your 5 hours a week of podcasting should be spent on editing and producing. And you're like, what? Just 1 hour? Yes. If your episodes are less than 30 minutes long, if you are under the 30-minute threshold, you should not be spending any more than an hour. If you're beginner, that's okay because you have a little bit of a learning curve. Anybody else that's been doing this for a while, you should not be spending so much time editing. You are wasting time. I say this all the time. Over editing is the silent killer of so many podcasts. We try to over edit ourselves. So if you need a hard and fast rule to know how long should I be working on editing and producing my podcast episodes, I'm going to tell you 1 hour a week, no more than. If you're doing more than that, you're doing something wrong. You're either making yourself sound like a robot or it's not good. It's not good. Stop it. Like, this is one of my pet peeves. Stop over editing yourself because you're going to burn out. You're not going to sound natural, and it's just not going to be fun anymore. And that just breaks my heart to think that podcasting isn't fun for someone because of all the editing that they're doing. So 1 hour a week editing and producing your show. The 4th hour of creating your podcast should be spent promoting. This is where a lot of people stop. Like, they do a little planning, then they record, and then they'll edit, and then it stops there. They upload it, and it's like, okay, bye, I'm just going to move on to the next one. No, you need to spend at least an hour a week, hopefully more, doing some promotion for your episodes, whether it's sitting down and creating a simple graphic in Canva or doing a soundbite like this one right here. Like, it doesn't have to be fancy, you guys. Do something simple for your podcast, but get it out there. Let people know that you actually have content to share with the world. Otherwise, how's anybody gonna know about it, right? It's gonna be crickets. Because people don't know to go listen. You have to give them like a prompt. Like, say, hey, by the way, guys, I put out this awesome episode and I would love for you to go check it out. So spend at least 1 hour per week promoting your podcast content. You worked so hard in creating it, so make sure that people actually know that it's there. And the 5th hour of your podcast per week should be spent engaging with your audience. Whether that is on social media and being active in groups where your audience or your potential audience is hanging out, I want you engaging with your listeners. This actually helps I think about it like a circle. Like, the entire process becomes so much easier when you actually get out there and engage with your audience, because it makes your content creation that much easier. It helps you know how to promote and where to promote and all the marketing things that you need to do. But honestly, it's just going to help you grow your show and add more value because you actually know who you're talking to. And it just makes it so much better, you guys. And if you are doing this podcast, like, it's almost like in a vacuum. If you're not engaging with your audience, you need to know who is listening to your show. You absolutely have to. It's so important. And this is going to sound kind of crazy, but I'm obsessed with my podcast listeners. I'm obsessed understanding what it is that they want to hear from me, because it helps me get better, because I know how to serve them better and add more value to the show. That way they want to come and listen to it every single week. So make sure that you are getting out there and engaging with your audience at least 1 hour every single week, no matter what, rain or shine. Get out there and engage with your audience. But that does it for today. So I hope you found this video helpful. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and subscribe below. That way you don't miss any future podcast videos that we put out every single week. Be sure to check out these other videos right here, all about podcasting, because it's what we love to talk about around here. And remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere.